In Australia, divorce is very different to what it means in other countries. So I'm going to talk to you today about a case that involved a contested divorce. And believe it or not, contested divorces are very, very rare in Australia. I've been doing this for over 22 years. I've only ever done 2, and one of those settled. So it's very, very rare. And you might be thinking, what do you mean? Don't you do divorces all day, every day as a family lawyer? You're confusing divorce with property settlement, parenting arrangements, or child support or spouse maintenance. Those things are entirely separate to the divorce. In Australia, the divorce is just the technicality, the process of legally ending the marriage. Remember when you got married and you had that big wedding and you had that big celebration? It was a big giant deal. You signed the papers and you got a marriage certificate? Well, when you get divorced, it's very simple. There's a form. You fill it out. You lodge it. Takes about, 6 to 8 weeks. If everything goes smoothly, you can serve the papers and the divorce is granted, generally speaking, and you get your divorce certificate. That's it. We don't do the parenting and the property and sort out your affairs. That is entirely separate. Welcome to Case Note Friday. My name is Fidana, I'm a family law solicitor practicing in Sydney, Australia, and today I'm going to talk to you about a contested divorce. These cases don't come up that often, so I'm excited to talk to you about this one. This case is called Bertrand and Bertrand. I'll put the citation in the caption below if you want to go and read it. Meet Mr. and Mrs. B. They got married in the year 2017 and they had a child who's now 8. The relationship runs its course, and in 2023, Mr. B says the relationship is over. I don't want to be with you anymore. We have to go to mediation to sort out the care arrangements for our son. So she agrees. She doesn't think the relationship is over because throughout the years, he'd said many times to her, that's it, I want a divorce, the relationship is over. And they always reconciled. So she didn't take him too seriously when he said that to her. Nonetheless, she did go to mediation and she did agree on a parenting plan for the care arrangements for their son. The son would basically live with dad from Monday to Friday and live with mum on the weekends. Now, the house they lived in, also known as the Love Nest, was owned by him. She had 2 properties in her name, but this matrimonial home, the Love Nest, was owned by him. Now, in 2023, March, they go to mediation. And there's no dispute about that. She agrees she went and she agreed they worked out the parenting plan for their child. Now, after that, he says to her, I want you to move out. She does move out. She moves out in March 2023. But in her mind, it was temporary. It was temporary because they'd broken up many times over the years and always got back together. So she moves out and continues to have sexy time with him consensually, right? They'd still hook up in the Love Nest from time to time. So in her mind, the relationship wasn't really over because they're still sleeping together, notwithstanding she didn't live there. Importantly, in his mind, when she moved out in March 2023, she took her special bed. She had a special bed because she had some medical issues and she had a special bed. When she moved out, she took the special bed. And in his mind, that says that she knew that it was permanent because otherwise she would have left the bed there and just moved out for a little while on the expectation that she would be allowed back in. It's uncontroversial in this case that many times when they were together, he'd call the police. They'd have a fight, he'd call the police to get her out of his house because he put significant weight on the fact the house was in his name. Nonetheless, let's fast forward, mid-2024. So even though she'd been out of the house since March 2023, they continued to have sexual relations in the Love Nest, and she would come back to the house and spend time with their kid. But she came back to the house, which she still considered her home, notwithstanding she didn't live there. In mid-2024, she is injured and has to go to hospital and have surgery. And when she comes back home to her house, she's struggling with her recovery. So being the kind man that he is, Mr. B says, why don't you come back to the house for a couple of weeks? This is what he said. Come back to the house for a couple of weeks to assist you in your recovery. You can spend time with our son and he can help her out because she was injured. She comes back to the house. Now, big mistake. Now that she's back in the house, she has no plans of leaving again. Now, there's a big fight about how long she remained in that house after she was invited to return after the surgery. He says the invitation was for a couple of weeks, but she said, and that she just overstayed her welcome. She says she stayed there for short periods and was living at that house between when she was invited back in mid-2024 until the significant event of the 23rd of October 2024. So she's living in the house. Now, what she does on the 24th of October 2024 is arrange for her special bed, which was in her house that she was living in before she was invited back into the house to recover from the surgery. She wanted her special bed, so she arranges for the special bed that was in her house to be delivered to the love nest for her to have the bed. And she didn't tell him about it. He finds out about it and then calls the police, and has the police come and stop the special bed from being placed into the house, because he says, I don't want her living in my house anymore. I don't want her bed. I don't want her, and I want her out of my house. And he consults the police about this, and they say, this is a family law matter. This is a civil matter. We're not going to interfere. We're not going to intervene in these proceedings. So they don't. Now, the learned judge said that this is an indication, a clear indication, that he doesn't want to be in this relationship. Not only has he said to her the relationship is over, he's communicated it by his conduct. That is, get out of my house, don't bring your special bed to my house. And in fact, he called the police. She was determined. Her view was she could move into the love nest whenever she felt like it. In any event, she was successful in getting the special bed into the love nest on the 24th of October. Despite his opposition to not wanting her in that house, they still continued to sleep together from time to time. Now, our learned judge says it's not necessary for me to determine the precise extent of the sexual contact and who initiated it and who acquiesced it and who's jumping into whose bed so that they could have sexy time. He doesn't need to determine any of that for this divorce application, because sleeping together is not determinative of them being in an intact marriage. By the end of 2024, things had deteriorated further, and Ms. B went to the police to get an intervention order for her own protection. She did that ex parte, which is somewhat unusual, meaning he wasn't served with it until after the order was made. There was also a Christmas party that they attended at their child's school, and she said, we went to that Christmas party together. See, we were still together. And he said, but I drove there myself and I came separately and I left separately. So yes, we're both at the same event, but we didn't go together. As part of her evidence, she was trying to say that the Christmas function was another example that they were in fact in an intact marriage, but they went separately and left separately. So in the judge's mind, that's a further example to show that they were in fact not in an intact relationship. So Mr. B files for divorce in December 2024. And it was up to him to prove that they'd been separated for at least 12 months, because that's the criteria to get a divorce. Now, the judge looked at all the circumstances, including that they'd continued to sleep together, which was her best piece of evidence. If we weren't together, then why were we sleeping together? But it was only one thing that she had. She had moved back in, but in his mind, yeah, okay, she moved back in, but not with my consent. I only wanted her there temporarily. And then we were living separated under the one roof. We didn't do things together as a married couple. We were separated under the one roof, and we cared for our child under that parenting plan that established back when they went to mediation in March of 2023. So the judge considered all the circumstances and said, you know what, I think in fact you guys were separated for 12 months and I should grant the divorce. One extra complicating factor was Ms. B was pregnant with his baby. So yes, shock horror, she was pregnant with his baby. So all of those communications in what I call the love nest resulted in another baby. I like how the judge expresses this. It so appears the parties are going to be blessed with another child, although the fact of having another child is not determinative of them being in an intact marriage. As part of the case, when she was in the witness box, she was asked, when do you say the final separation date is? When do you accept that this relationship was finally over? Notwithstanding, they had the police intervention order. We had him calling the police constantly to get her out of the house. We have him saying to her, I don't want to be with you. But his inconsistent behaviour of sleeping with her and, as it turns out, getting her pregnant. All these mixed signals. This poor lady. She says, I think the separation date is early 2025. That's when, in my mind, I have accepted that this marriage is over. Notwithstanding that, the judge says, in all of his wisdom, I'm going to give this man the divorce. I grant the divorce. I consider that these are two very decent people. They're good parents. They're good people. And he made some strange choices, but notwithstanding that, I think that there's enough evidence to say that they had been separated for 12 months and therefore the divorce is granted. Remembering that's just legally ending the marriage so that maybe you can get remarried. It doesn't do the property, the parenting, the child support, nothing. It's just legally ending the marriage. It's kind of curious that she fought it, keeping in mind they self-represented both of them, so they had no legal fees. So after all of that, Mr. B got his divorce.